Okay, this is the second of two videos. This is all the CSS required to make the first weekly assignment on April 13th through the April 17th. This is what the page looks like. We have the first video was concentrated on the HTML, and it should not look like this at all because we haven't included any CSS. So I wouldn't really look at your page, but I would stop and start the video for the first one and just make sure you have everything exactly the way I have it. If something's not working, again, I wouldn't even look at it till we're done with this video. I never say that, but in this case, this is what I would do. So again, it's a page where it has like a tan line at top, and then it has a Jumbotron. I've given you this photo of the coffee beans, and I've attached it so you can download this PNG file and use it on this assignment. We have some text that we have placed over the image. Now again, the image is not going to show up because we're doing that with CSS, talking to the class name Jumbotron. We have a row where we have column 6, and then we have it with a block quote, and then we have a column 6 with a small heading and a block quote. Again, the magic number in Bootstrap is 12. So once you have 12, whatever that represents in columns, you can close the row. This is a separate little row for the HR tag, a separate little row by itself, column 12, which is a one big column in the row. And then we have a third row where we have column 4, and then column 4 has a fake image. That's the corners are rounded using CSS, has a heading, and it has a paragraph of Latin text. I've also linked up to lipsum.com, the website that if you need it and you're not using Atom, you can get a paragraph of Latin text generated, and you can copy that Latin text to fill the page. Okay? So column 4, column 4, column 4, and again, magic number is 12. And then we create another row for another horizontal rule line right here. Close that. And then we have a row of a column 4, column 1, and we do this vertical thing with the horizontal rule line, which is something we haven't done yet. And then we have a column 7, I believe. So 4, 1, and 7 equals 12. We close that row, and then I actually closed the container for this main area. I started a container right here, and everything down before this black area is in its own container called main. And I closed that. I started another container for the footer. And then we did some vertical alignment with this text here. All right, so here we go. So I just wanted to kind of go over that. So I'm going to go into Atom and we are going to get started. So again, here's our web page. What you're going to have to do is you're going to have to go into Atom and go or Caret, if you're using Caret, go File, New, and you're going to create a new CSS file. Now I already have one, but you're going to have to create one and then save it, and you're actually going to place it. Here's my web page here, coffeepage.html. Notice I made a separate folder for that image, for coffee.png for that image, and that's the Jumbotron image, but it's in a folder. So in the CSS, we're going to name this folder and then go inside of it and find this file. But you're going to create a new CSS file for this. I think I call it, what do I call it here? Coffee underscore page. And you're going to store the new CSS file for this assignment in the folder in the folder CSS. Excuse me. And I called it, again, in the video, I called it coffee_page.css. All right? So I already have it, so I'm not going to save it, but that's what you have to do. Now, I'm going to show you all the coding that it takes to make this page. Let me make sure that I'm in toggle soft wrap. There you go. Now, first thing I'm gonna do is I want you to stop and start the videos of these weekly assignments and type out whatever I have, okay? We did this in the HTML like this. So I'm talking to the body and I'm making sure that the margin is 0 and the padding is 0. By default, if I don't do that, there'll be, I think, 10 pixels of space, like empty space. So with the Jumbotron image, or the thin tan line above the Jumbotron and below the Jumbotron, if I don't do this, it'll have a little thin white background line area to it, and it just won't look as clean as we can get it. So I always zero out the margin and the padding for the body. All right. Then the next thing I do is, in the HTML video, I have that long tan area above the Jumbotron. I try to put my CSS from top to bottom if I can. And I gave it a class name of widehr_top. Widehr_top. I gave it a background color, and I included in the assignment, there's a link to the palette that I used for the color scheme. So I want you to click on that, and you can grab the hexadecimal color numbers. And I gave it a height of 50 and then a width of 100% all the way across the page. So what I'm talking about is this area right here. Okay, notice it spans all the way across and it's 50 pixels, and then it has like a tan color, gold color to it. All right, so that's where we are. Now, this is the big one. This is the Jumbotron image right here. And this is all the coding it takes to place that image as the background of the Jumbotron area. Notice I say background : URL, and then in parentheses I have a .. ./img. What that means is this CSS file that we're working on, that we just made, is stored in the CSS folder. So by saying .. right here, it says, hey, get out of this folder and go up one level. So we go up, we get out of the CSS folder, we go up one level. On that level, there's an IMG folder, right? And it finds it, and then we go inside of it and find the coffee.png file. Okay? So that's what that .. means if you forget. I give it a width of 100%. I give it a height of 450 pixels. I think it's actually 450 pixels when I made it. I made this in Photoshop, but not everybody has Photoshop at home. So, and the overflow is hidden, meaning any extra space will not be seen, besides the 450. All right, and it's going to cover the complete background of the Jumbotron area. All right, and be centered in the middle. So that's what we're doing. So go ahead and type that out exactly the way I have it. And then this is the tan line below the Jumbotron, which is right here. Okay. And right there. Notice I say margin - top -50. What happened was there was empty space between the Jumbotron and the tan line of about 50 pixels. So I moved the margin of this area up. That's why I have minus. This is a margin top -50 px. That's a minus sign right there. All right. So then is the headings below. Or actually, this is the heading in the Jumbotron. This is this right here. And this is that area right here. And I have a background. Notice I'm going background : RGBA. Remember RGBA? We did that in Web 1. That means red, green, blue value, and then alpha, or transparency. So I gave it a 125 for the red, comma, red 125 for the green, comma, 125 for the blue, comma, and then a 0.4 for the alpha, or transparency. I gave it a padding of 3 EM. EM, basically, whatever size normal padding is 1 EM. So 3 is, 3 times that. So it created empty space around it, okay? And then I gave it a border radius of 2 EM, and notice it rounded the corners here, okay? And then now what I'm doing is that area in heading, there's an H1 tag, this white text right here, and I'm talking to it. I'm saying, hey, I want you the color white, and then I want the font size 5 EM. And again, EM, whatever normal H1 size heading is, that's 1 EM. I want five times that, so I went 5 EM. Okay? And then I'm going to talk to the main area, and that's all the stuff down here. That's right here. That's actually this whole big container that holds all of the white space area here. Starting here, the white space, and then going down to before the white space ends. That's the main container. All right. So I'm talking to it, and I'm saying .main margin top 50px, and that's going to create some empty space between the tan line and where the text starts. And I wanted some extra space there. If I didn't do that, it was too tight from a design standpoint. Okay, and then I have 2 quote blocks down here. Right here, these are quote blocks. This is a tag called quote block. It's an HTML tag that we really haven't used. And I have an area called quote, okay? And I see the H3, these are H3 tags right here, small heading. Notice I'm coloring it sort of like a red color that I got off the palette from Color Lovers that I gave you. And then the quote block, I gave it a class name of lead, which is a bootstrap thing, but I can add extra things I want to do to that class name called lead. So I basically say, hey computer, there's an area called quote, right? And inside of it, there's a class name called lead, and I want to change the font size of whatever that lead is to 2 EM width 80% and margin 1 EM auto. The margin 1 EM auto will put whatever's in that column in the middle. Okay? The next thing I do is small img. So the next CSS is in this row where we have column 4, column 4, column 4, and I grabbed a fake image from placeholder.it, and notice I'm curving the edges of by saying border radius, and notice each one is 150 by 150, and I'm floating them inside the column, and the paragraph of Latin text wraps around them. All right, so to do that, I'm talking to this image tag right here in my my CSS. So there's an area called smg_img, and inside there's an image tag, and I'm saying, hey, I want to talk to that image tag, and I'm going to float it left. I'm going to give padding, only 8 pixels of padding, because we don't have too much space in there, but it creates a little bit of empty space. And then a border radius of 30px, and that basically rounded the corners. Okay? All right, the next thing we're going to do is the image row. So I'm talking to this whole row here. These are columns, but the whole thing is a row. And I'm creating empty space above the row by creating margin top, basically pushing this row where it starts down to create empty space, to give this horizontal rule line row more space. Okay, just a little trick. So I called that class in that row img_row, and I say margin-top 50px. All right, now I'm talking, the next thing I'm doing is, we're done with that, with the CSS. This is a list item, an unordered list, and each one of these is a list item. okay? And I had to design them. So I had to resize them and take away the dots and all of that. And I had to put it in the middle. So that's what we're working on now. So there's a class name I called ul_call, and that's the column holding this ul. And inside of that column, there is a ul tag, which is the whole unordered list right here, the whole thing. And I'm saying list-style none, and that takes away the dots. And then I say font-size 2em, and again, 2em is twice this normal size of whatever is considered unordered list size of text. And you can just kind of mess around with that. The next thing I'm doing is, I believe this class name list is the class name I added to the whole row. So this whole row here, including the vertical line and including the paragraph here, this whole thing I wanted to move down. I wanted to create some empty space again, just like we did before. So this whole row is going to move down and create more empty space above it. So I created a separate class name just to talk to that. Shh. And margin-top 50px. Now, the crazy thing we're doing here is we're done with this, right? Now this is if you'll look in the HTML, let me go over to the HTML. Coco, shh. This is a div of one column and it has an HR tag in it. We're going to talk to that and make this HR tag vertical. Okay? And notice that in the coding, I gave it a separate class name of vert_line. This column now has two class names. Call SM1, that makes Bootstrap work. And then my separate little class name, I'm going to design it, vert_line. So I go into my CSS and I say, hey, computer, there's a class name I made called vert_line. Inside of it, there's an HR tag, and here's what I want to do. And this is something we have not done before. So I'm making a border none. I'm saying border left 1px solid HSLA. Notice it turns blue, and in parentheses it's 200, 10%, 50%, 100. And then the height, this is probably the most important thing, 25 VH. And VH stands for vertical height. And then the width of it is 1 pixel. Just something we have not done before. I wanted to try with you. I don't do it that much, and I love it. I just don't do a lot of it. So I wanted to show you how to do that. So go ahead and type out exactly what I have there. And then the last thing is, this is a whole container for the footer area. And inside the footer area container, I have a row and I have a column 12. And it says, I have text that says this is the footer container area. I didn't know what to put, so I had to put that. And I'm doing a couple things. This is for the paragraph. So this right here is what the coding's working on now. This lower p. This lower p, I gave it a class name of lower p, and this is what we're working on now. So I'm going to go over to the CSS, and it's ._p, the curly brackets, font size 2.5 em. I just kind of messed around with that. And then the color, again, I got it off the palette that I gave you at Color Lovers, which is, again, there's an attached link to get to this palette. And then the next thing, the last thing we're doing finally, is the footer. So again, this is a container with a row with a column 12. And the first thing we're going to do is talk to the column. The background color is kind of a black. I think I got it off that palette, Color Lovers palette. The width is 100%. The height is 200 pixels. So I wanted to give it some height so you could see it. And then the last thing we're going to do is we're going to talk to this H1 tag right here. And we're doing a little bit kind of crazy stuff with this. So again, I have a column. I'm naming the column .footer_call. And then I say, hey, there's something called, .footer_call. Inside of it, there's an H2 tag. And here's what I want to do. So it's specifically targeting that H2 tag only in the area called footer column or footer call. So I'm giving a margin top of 12 VH. Again, VH is vertical height. I'm able to move this text down from the top. If I don't do that, it lays right up against the top here. But I'm able to move it down and kind of play with it. I made the color of the text white, and I gave it a font size of 2EM. Okay? So, and I could also, let me do this. Oh, I don't have to do it there. Just a second here. Let me save it. I'm going to come back to my HTML. And I'm going to add in that column SM12, also footer call, I'm going to add another class name. So text-center. And let's see if that, I'm going to reload it. Now it puts it in the middle. That's a little bit better. Okay, and that's a bootstrap. The text-center is a bootstrap term. And again, this column has 3 class names. Here's the first one that makes the grid system work in Bootstrap. Here's the second one that I created to basically design it and control the look of it and style of it. And then here's another class name I added that's Bootstrap generated that places everything in that column in the middle. All right? So, I'll go back to the CSS page. So that is it. And again, all I want you to do is take your time, stop and start the video, type out exactly what I have, and remember to place that coffee PNG that I've given you as an attached file. Make a folder right where the CSS folder is. Let me show you. And place that PNG file in that newly created IMG folder for you. So what I mean is, let me go File, Save As. I'll show you where this is. Let me go up. So when you get the file, you're going to have 2 folders. You're going to have the Bootstrap template. You're going to have a CSS folder and a JS folder. I created the IMG folder here. And what I'm saying is when you download that PNG coffee PNG file, you're going to create a folder just where the CSS and JS folder is, same level, and inside of it you're going to put the coffee.png file, and that's going to make the Jumbotron image show up. Okay? Alright, so I'm hoping, this is a whole new world, and even though a lot of my classes are online and worked out on the computer, not everybody has Atom. Not everybody has a computer. People have to try to figure out how to use Caret, C-A-R-E-T, on a Chromebook. You can use text. You can use what's it called? Notepad++. Any text editor you want to use, but you might have to do some research online to figure out how to use Caret to your advantage. All right? I hope this helped you. Just take your time, stop and start, type out everything exactly the way I do. You might have to watch things, 2 or 3 times just to make sure if something's not working, you might have mistyped something. All right? So take your time, be patient, be safe, and be well, everybody. All right.